We're recording. And happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. Welcome to Check the Gate. My name is Mike Camoyne, and I'll be your host this afternoon. I want to welcome our guest today, Josh Friedman of Crew Me Up.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here. Josh, building a digital community for filmmakers to connect, create, and collaborate. crewmeup.com. Josh, I'd like to welcome. Thanks for taking time to join us. I like to start off each afternoon. I figure it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 3 o'clock here, but
yeah.
I start off with a little bit of Josh wine.
We love Josh wine.
So, how did you get? Do you have any wine? Can I help you out?
I don't. I got a glass, but I do not have any wine.
Oh, okay. All right. Here you go. Let me take that.
I appreciate that. No.
Take the bottle. Got it?
Yep, got it. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Movie magic. You're most welcome. Welcome.
Amazing. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. All right. So, Check the Gate is a weekly program. We meet twice weekly through May, and it's supported by Capital Cinema Cultural Exchange, the nonprofit that supports emerging filmmakers to complete and present their work in a rapidly changing media landscape. And boy, is it changing. We do this through a lab process, one-on-one conversations. And, really grateful to have you, Josh. Quick thanks to our co-producer, Eric Volweiler, publicist Tammy Reese, and behind-the-scenes student intern, a Great Dane from UAlbany's Luke Williams. Today's sponsors include Price Chopper, Market 32, not just in your neighborhood, they're our neighbor. Glad to have them. Albany Wine and Dine, Festival for the Arts. Without them, we would also not be here. Last week, we had this wonderful discussion, why invest in the arts? And people can check out episode 6 on our website, cinemaexchange.org. This Thursday, 3 p.m., May 7th, Anasa Troutman, CEO of Creative Cultural Shift from Memphis, will be here. So come back, say hello in the next 2 days. Check the Gate. For those who don't know the term, Josh, you know this well.
Absolutely. I was there when that switch happened in the business.
So this is then you've got to check the gate to make sure there's no impurities on the lens. And if it's good, you get to move on.
Yeah, exactly. So I started a long time ago in Law and Order Criminal Intent. And when I first started, we were shooting on film. So the aperture where the light shoots through to hit the film as it passes by, that's the gate. And if a hair got in there or a piece of dust got in there, that would then burn onto the film and we'd have to reshoot the take.
So you got to get that in. You can't move on. I always love it when people say, gate is good. Yep. Moving on, people.
Well, now we check the chip.
Check the chip. That'll be season 2.
There you go.
Yep. So, Josh, I'm going to tell folks a little bit about you. You're, in addition to being a filmmaker, you're also the author of Getting It Done, the Ultimate Production Assistant Guide Handbook. A decade of experience on shows such as Law and Order, CI, to your feature film Warning Shot, which led you to create a mobile labor platform to connect filmmakers around the world. You serve as an advisor to our board, CCCE, the Northeast Filmmakers Lab. You wrangle industry mentors for us, and we're looking forward to the 7th edition coming up in November, where we'll be here on Zoom with dozens of filmmakers and dozens of industry experts and connecting everybody right here. So we're not going to skip a beat. And you just love sharing your experience in cultivating new talent.
Absolutely.
It's really good to have you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks.
So this might be a two-parter, like as in 2 glasses of wine, because part 1, I want to focus on you and your app. And then part 2, I would like to talk about the state of our industry.
Okay.
And what things might look like when things reopen. So on our last show, we were talking about why invest in the arts. And we had actress Val Landsberg on.
I love Val.
and we love her too. And you brought her to us.
Mm-hmm.
And how did your connection with her develop in this movie that she mentioned, Love and Debt?
Yeah, so Love and Debt was shooting in Atlanta, which is a place where I grew up and my family is. So I got that rare call, hey, do you want to go home and work? So I moved down to Atlanta for a little bit, and I second AD'd the movie Love and Debt, which she directed. Tom Cavanaugh, Bellamy Young, amazing cast, and she's fantastic.
Yeah, and her movie is just out now on Amazon Prime. And we'll put a link to that for everybody watching. She asks, all you do is go on, click on it, watch it. You could even fall asleep if you want, but just let it run. It helps her audience numbers. I can't wait to see the film myself. It seems appropriately titled, Love and Debt, right about now. I think we're all facing those two very issues.
It starts with a debt collector and follows a family.
Oh yeah, you know it well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah, it's
you remember?
I do. It's a nuclear family. Mom, dad, 2 kids. He loses his job and hides it from the family at the same time that a debt collector is calling. And at that point, shenanigans ensue, and you should probably go see the movie.
Amazon Prime. I think we're going to post a link here. So right now, though, you're Crew Me Up, and you are based in New York.
Correct. So our company is based in Manhattan, and I'm actually living in Hell's Kitchen.
Which is Midtown and on the west side. And are you near a hospital?
I am. I'm about 7 blocks from Mount Sinai.
So when we had Grove on from London, it was 3 o'clock here, but 8 o'clock there in London. And he said, hey, do you hear that? That's the sound of everybody getting off of work. Do you experience that?
It is one of the most incredible things that you will ever experience at 7 o'clock every single day without fail. There's a roar that erupts in the city. It starts with a few shouts and a few woos, and then it turns into pots and pans and people hanging out windows, and the entire city just erupts to show our appreciation for the healthcare workers that are keeping us safe. Cheers
to them and everybody in your neighborhood. Thank you. We acknowledge them and what they're doing to keep us safe. Where you mentioned Atlanta. You don't seem to have a Southern accent of any kind.
No. So living in New York for as long as I have, both my parents being from New York, I do carry a Northeast accent. When I first moved to New York, though, I did have the drawl, and so I sounded like this, and nobody had any idea that I was a Northerner. Technically, they thought I was from Georgia my whole life.
Wow. Did it take you? Did you have to get voice lessons, or did you just gradually lose adopt the right way to speak? Up here?
Honest answer is I was an actor before I got behind the camera. So I can literally, if you want to go to England, it's very easy to just pull this one out. And then the next thing that you got to do is you go to Ireland, you see, and you slide your voice up and down, you have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, it's easy to put on the mask.
That's amazing. Let's see. So folks, people say you still have a draw. Wow. Okay. People are amazed by this talent. I'm telling you, Josh, you are a multi-talented person.
I mean, there's a story. I used to work at a pool hall in Laurel, Maryland, and I would go to the tables. And the first time I would go, ladies and gentlemen, is there anything that I can get you to drink? And so I take the drink orders. I go back to the kitchen. I come back. All right, so here's your drinks. Can I get you anything to eat? Now I've got some wonderful appetizers. Then I go back to the kitchen again. When I come back, all right, here's your food. Is there anything else that I can get you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my tips were big.
You are multi-talented. That's amazing. Now, your ties actually bring you back to upstate New York. Your dad is from Schenectady.
Yeah, my dad's from Schenectady. Absolutely. Actually, Eric Vollweiler, one of the sponsors and supporters of the show, his grandfather, Rabbi Zenis, actually bar and bat mitzvahed my entire family, my dad and his 3 siblings.
That's amazing.
It's all connected.
Yeah, what a small world. So you got Atlanta, you got Schenectady, and now you're in New York.
Exactly.
Well, welcome home. Welcome back. Um, you've got many ties through Crew Me Up. You've been spending the last year and a half, I think, just really going hard at this. And we talked about just downriver from us is a place called the Stockade Works in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
What's your ties there and your interest there?
It's a very new relationship. We're very excited to talk more with them. So Stockade Works is an educational film program run by Mary Stuart Masterson and Beth Davenport up in the Hudson Valley. The concept being we are going to train locals to have the film skills needed so that when production moves up there, they can hire locally and they don't have to bring in the staff. So that is what we're about, very much so. It's about community supporting and providing opportunities wherever we can. So anybody who's in that vein, we want to partner with and work with.
You mentioned a person in your company, Robin Bennett. What's her role and where does she fit into the picture with Crew Me Up?
So Robin Bennett is one of our newest members. She's actually taking over to help with liaising between industry professionals. But I met her on a movie called Above the Shadows. She was a producer, I was ADing, and we just had a really strong relationship. She's very organized, and that's what we need for the company. So she's going to come in and basically produce the company the way you would produce a movie.
Awesome. That's what you need is that you've made a lot of industry connections through the app. And I just want to preface by asking you, do you wear any one particular hat? I know you're a member of the union, but when you develop something like this, Crew Me Up, are you looking through this myopically, or how do you look at the industry?
I'm a tech CEO. That's first and foremost. And my job is to make sure that the vision of the company stays on track and that we're growing and scaling and servicing the industry as a whole. On the vendor side, on the user side, that's really what we're focusing on right now.
Yep. So your mission is to connect, create, collaborate. Why Crew Me Up?
Why Crew Me Up? So the story of the origin. I was working on a movie in Texas called Warning Shot. It's starring David Spade and James Earl Jones. And during prep, we had to fire our gaffer. He literally turned to my DP during a scout and said, "I'm not going to do that," used a few profanities, at which point we told him he'd be getting on a plane the next day. Now, if this happened in New York, I could pick up the phone, no problem. LA, Atlanta, same thing. But happening in Texas, I didn't have any resources. So I reached out to my producing partners. I asked if there was anything out there. It was Staff Me Up. It was Mandy, but they didn't have the quality of talent that we needed. And so I decided right then and there that we're going to solve this problem.
And that's where the idea for
Crew Me Up came in. Yep. So we're going to help people find work. We're going to help them connect. If they need gear, locations, rentals, we're going to offer them resources, and we're going to do this all free of charge.
Wow. So you have someone here with us. V is on. Can you talk a little bit about V's role in the company?
Absolutely. So V is short for Voravong. He is my co-founder. He is one of my best friends, and he is the heart and soul of this company. His job is to go out and liaise with the users, with the clients, with the people on set or in the organizations, and bring everybody together so that they can actually collaborate.
And so you got a real powerful team. And you've got a number of programmers who are putting this together, ironing out all the kinks. Is it ready for us? Can we get like a demonstration on what it looks like?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll share my screen and and I can give you guys a quick demo.
And while you're doing that, I just want to welcome someone who's here today, and we'll bring her on a little bit, Debbie Gedicke from Film Albany. Debbie, looking forward to having you on shortly. And folks, as Luke may have suggested to you, please type in your questions, and we'll do our best to get to anything that you want to ask. Okay.
All right. Welcome to Crew Me Up. Do you see what I see?
Robin Bennett.
Yeah, we're going to do not disturb.
I'm going to mute myself.
All right. So this is the Crew Me Up home screen. And when you download the app, create your profile, this is the first thing that you will see. So what I want to do first is show you that profile. If I were to go into search, oh, there we go. So these are all real live users. And as you can see in the short form, you got the name, the position, the secondary position, their location, and very important, whether or not they're union. And then you can filter all these things. So we can find people that are close, we can find people that are available, we can filter by union or non. So then we go to a specific profile. So this is actually one of our developers. And as you can see, you'll be able to list your positions. You'll be able to upload a link to your website, upload your resume or your IMDb link. We can see the next 7 days of your availability, as well as your work history and experience. Now, for me as an employer, if I were to go to that profile and I want to hire him, all I have to do is click hire, tell him I want him the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And then once I fill out all of these fields and hit next, then he will get a message, and from there it's 3 clicks. So that's how we're servicing the users on that side. We've also got our calendar, and within the calendar, if I book somebody, these dates will turn red. And then if I were to click a red date, it would tell me exactly who I'd hired. The other side of that, so if I'm looking for work, let's say I'm Eric and I don't want to work. Click that date and it should turn red. There we go. Boom. So now I'm booked and nobody can book me. Anybody that you want to hire on the regular, you can pop into your favorites. So these are some of the people that I hire regularly. And again, I can go to their profiles, see the information I need, and offer them a job. Now, if you need the message, we've got that. So you'll be able to communicate with the crew before and after you hire them. Tracking jobs. So you'll be able to post, you'll be able to see those posts. And then once people have applied, I can actually see who's applied, as well as the status of whether they've accepted the job or I've hired them. And the last feature is the resources. So this is where our vendors come in, and these are all our partners. So we're working with LVR, we're working with Gear Focus and Greenlight Go for camera rentals, film commissions. We need help. And that is your basic demo. Great. Mike, you still muted?
Oh, I'm back.
Hello.
Hey, Josh, that was wonderful. Who we got there?
Thank you. This is Kruby. So Kruby is the company mascot.
Hello, Kruby.
He's one of our favorites. Yeah, he's been on TV. He's been on podcasts.
He's a
this
natural.
is his first webinar. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kruby, for getting all dressed up for us today. To tell us, does this work for independent contractor?
Yeah.
And the whole independent film scene?
Absolutely. So this is geared towards union as well as non-union. So independent filmmakers will be able to find work, and as long as they put on their profile what the status is, we'll be able to hire them accordingly. It's great for commercials. It's great for last minute day players. Who knows what the status will be of day players after this, but that's why we built it.
Micah Khan says this app is looking sick, and it is. I mean, you guys have been working hard at this. What else are you doing?
Credit to the developers.
Talk a little bit more about the developers in the sense that this is not just the crew that you're linking, but you're linking up other aspects of production from beginning to delivery. Is that right?
Right now, we're focusing on work and resources. But down the road, yes, what we're looking at is how to take the information that we're getting through the app and push it to a call sheet, or push it to a time card, or push it to a tax form for the tax incentives. So we're looking to expand our services and really add value, not just for the filmmakers, but for the production companies as well.
And what can people expect as to what your target date is, when this will be out?
Well, it's out now. So go ahead, create a profile, download the app, App Store on iTunes, and the Google Play Store on Android. So we're good to go. In the meantime, what our guys are doing is updating it, making it better, fixing any bugs that people have reported. And we are going to launch a 2.0 version with some more fleshed out functionality 3 months from now.
Amazing. So if you're in Canada, this works. If you're in Europe, this works. If you're in China, this works.
Unfortunately, we can't jump the borders yet.
Okay.
So in order to do that, you'd have to be GDPR compliant, GDPR, and we are not right now.
Is it in the plans to?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So we're going to start at home. New York's my local, so I'll reach out to the friends and family first. Then we're going to expand nationwide, and then we'll cross the borders. We've already got interest from Canada, and my publishers are based in the UK, so we've got a small following there as well.
Outstanding. I want to bring on
yes, content creators as well. We don't deal with actors, but writers, directors, producers, absolutely. You guys are what I call technical creative talent.
I'm going to bring on Deb Gedicke from Film Albany. Good afternoon,
Debbie.
Deb. Debbie, just unmute your audio if you would. There you are.
That?
That's great, Debbie. How are you doing?
Doing good. I hope everybody's families are healthy and safe in this time of a little bit of a challenge, but we'll get through it.
Yes, we will. Thanks for being with us. I would offer you a glass of wine, but I drank mine and I gave my bottle. I sent it to New York, so I don't know.
That's okay.
Josh, if you want to pass it back.
I still have to go for a bicycle ride later, so I don't need a drink of wine.
Oh, that's right. You're a big cyclist.
Try to be.
Do you have any races coming up, or
right now? Yeah, right now everything's been canceled. All the sporting tournaments and everything. Just any kind of a mass gathering, which I'm okay with all that. I want it to be safe for everybody, no matter what they're doing.
I see Josh nodding his head as well with you on that one. First, your reaction to the app, could that be something that could help you in what you're doing at the Albany Film Commission?
Sure. I mean, I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen the application today, Josh. That was actually the first time, but certainly could delve into it a little bit deeper with regard to the productions that come in and out of Albany. I think indie features could be up, first coming back into Albany. We've also just qualified the Capitol Center in downtown Albany as a New York State qualified production facility. So I'm actually working with them on really doing some marketing to get them out in the forefront of everybody. As you can imagine, a lot of conventions and car shows and everything else that was scheduled there has been put on pause until next year. So they could come in and use that whole upstairs space, 23,000 square feet, uninterrupted space as a production studio. So we're open to all kinds of options that will get production here in New York State, upstate New York, which I think we will have a good opportunity. Folks may be a little fearful of filming back in the city again until things straighten out a little bit. So I actually think the Hudson Valley and the Capital Region and even north of us are going to be in a good position.
Josh, you mentioned that you saw Debbie at the New York Producers Alliance,
Yes.
Yeah, so
We were on
we had
the
a New York
call.
Production Alliance. Yeah.
your Production
Yep.
Alliance. Either of you, Josh, could you talk a little bit about that organization and
Yeah.
role?
So the New York Production Alliance is a group of professional filmmakers, whether they are the CEOs and heads of guilds, vendors, or just members of the filmmaking community, all supporting the tax incentive and film in New York. So, you know, we had that vote on March 16th, and unfortunately, the incentive went down by 5 points. Although I do hear that you guys still have it upstate. So if anything goes up towards the Albany
What can
area.
I say?
Yep. Thank you for that.
Say? We have,
That's
you
Michael
know,
Jordan
we have that extra 10% bump here. So,
Mhm.
too, for post-production. But, you know, I have to be honest with you. I don't think that 5% up here is going to make that much of a difference. I really don't. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But
I was talking to Eric Vinal at the Syracuse Film
oh
Office the other day.
yes, Eric, yeah.
And he was telling me that there might be a grant that they're trying to refill that could also help subsidize some of the productions.
That I don't know about. I just know for Albany County, I mean, there's a lot of budget deficit all the way around in the city and the county. So I'm not sure how that would shake out up here.
Just to back up, we've got a question. Can editors register on the app, Josh?
Yes, they can.
And-
It's either under post-production or editor for the job category.
That's great to know, right, Debbie? Because
Oh my goodness, yes.
Upstate
so-
wants to be known to be a post-production area.
Mhm.
Plus, we've got the extra 10. Is it extra 10% on top of?
10% post-production. Yeah. So we have some really good incentives up here, and I think the one positive thing that's going to come out of this, which I think there's going to be a lot of positives, and even though we may not feel that way now, is that really it's going to shine a light a lot more on the Hudson Valley and upstate New York and the capital region, that people can come in here and film, and that we have those resources available, you know, that they'll be able to utilize. So I think that's going to be a really good thing. I think it's also going to shine a light more with our government officials and people here in the community. I think sometimes they think it's they don't take it seriously until we got Ben Stiller up here, but you know, I think it'll be you know, they'll look at it that it is an economic driver for the region, and that's what we want them to look at.
Absolutely. You both mentioned that smaller projects will perhaps be the first ones to you know, get going. Can you talk a little bit about what the Production Alliance may have talked about, or what you're hearing from your different travels and circles about how this is actually going to reopen and roll out?
I mean, the biggest conversation that I'm hearing right now is safety and protection. Everybody wants to get back to work. Everybody needs to support their families and make a living, but not at the risk of health and safety. So I know there's an unofficial document that Lionsgate leaked that's talking about dividing the set into 3 separate pods. So we would have a base camp pod, which would be hair, makeup, wardrobe, and the assistant directing team. And then 2 drivers that would then send just the actors, not hair, makeup, and wardrobe, to set. And then the first AD would handle the set, and they'd have a separate crew, and these 2 pods would never interact to mitigate risk.
And what's the philosophy behind that?
As little contact as we can possibly have to limit transmission is the goal right now. Until there's a vaccine and we can actually fight against this, the only thing we can do is protect.
I've also been working with the Association of Film Commissioners International. I was actually on a call last week where there were film commissioners from all over the world. And some productions have started back up in, I think it's Australia. It's looking like Australia and New Zealand seem to have, I don't want to say smart leaders, but it seems as though they had a handle on this way before it really hit full force. So, but it is safety is the top of everyone's mind. And the one thing that I saw too, Josh, because I also got that Lionsgate document, is that the control around the talent, the actors and, you know, that are on set, that nobody can be anywhere near them.
Right.
So I just found the whole thing fascinating.
Absolutely. Well, to add to that, so what they're saying is that if we're on set, then the grips and electrics would come in, they would light before the cast, they would leave to a completely separate space before the cast was even brought in.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so it's gonna definitely increase time. We're also thinking about locations. How do we secure locations and then get people in there? And then we're gonna have to secure them again in between each step of the process to prep, wrap, and shoot.
I also thought, is it going to bring on new position like a quality assurance control person?
I hope
you know,
so.
for movie sets, so that, you know, there is a person that's just specified for that specific area, and really let them take that task on and not have somebody else have to do it.
Would that possibly fall under the medic, your on-set medic, or some kind of supervisory role in that area?
Yeah. Yeah,
I feel like it could be the medic, but on the big sets that I've been on, the studios will send in a safety monitor. And I think someone specifically dedicated to this, because it is such a specific and important crisis, is going to be paramount. Not just the medic to treat people, but someone who's actually there paying attention to these quarantine rules.
Yeah. And then I also got thinking about the fact now, you know, we have locations, the inside of somebody's house, or the inside of somebody's warehouse, or their garage, or their parking lot. I mean, there's just all kinds of factors that are going to come into play with this.
So just by way of plug and a case breakdown here, we shot, I was on the locations department for the half of it, which was shot in upstate New York. Just came out on Friday on Netflix. People should go see it. It's right on your Netflix. The half of it by Alice Wu. And we used the Thendera train station. Across the street was the hotel that served as our dining area, hair and makeup. Video Village would move wherever close to set was. Sometimes we're on the train track. Sometimes we're inside the depot. Actors would be escorted across the street from holding to set. Josh, what you're saying is those two sets would no longer interact the way we were, you know, going across the street and all that.
Right.
Correct. So a PA or somebody separate would not walk with the actors. The only person they would interact with is their driver. Right? We would text them, come out of your trailer, hop in the van, and everything would be done remotely or digitally.
So this is really just all about safety, and we're not going to take any risks because nobody wants a lawsuit.
Exactly. It's all about liability at this point for getting back to work, as well as safety and the concern for the humans.
I think the unions too will have a big role in making sure that all of this happens too, because I know that they're working on guidelines as well. Everybody's working on guidelines. My hope is that it all comes together in one big guideline. I'm going to have to run because I have to jump on another one, but Josh, thank you for being here today. Thank you for this resource. You continue to stay well so that we can have you and your team as a resource.
Same. We're looking forward, and thanks for the support, Deb.
You bet. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you, Deb, and we'll have you back on. And please come back and give us another update, perhaps over the summer.
Will do. Everyone be safe out there.
Thanks, Debbie. The go-to button of Albany, Albany Film. And you can reach Debbie at filmalbany.com. Josh, you mentioned something interesting. We were talking this week about quarantining your crew in advance of production. Is this something that independents should be thinking about as well?
It's a very good question. I don't think independents have it in the budget, to be honest. 14-day quarantine and paying hold days, I don't think any of them could handle. But it is something that we need to look into, and we also should look into what the minimums could be. Could they handle a 3 to 7 day quarantine? What other precautions can we take? Do we fold prep into the quarantine so everybody moves into a hotel together, preps in the hotel together, and then by the end of that 14-day prep, they can shoot?
So this is in advance of getting to the set. This is the preparation of making sure you're not a carrier and bringing anything onto your set.
Exactly. So if I shoot a pilot, I usually get 4 to 6 weeks of prep on it. And that 4 to 6 weeks could then be used as partial quarantine.
You talked about the smaller productions, smaller crew sizes, and yet the federal tax, is it the state tax incentive where the threshold used to be at 250 for indies is now $1 million?
Correct. It's the state, the New York state tax incentive that we were just talking about. So it went from 30% down to 25. And then they changed the threshold for independents from $250,000 budget to $1 million budget, which unfortunately would knock a lot of them out of the incentive range.
So we've got some filmmakers on, Micah Khan, we've got Andy Maycock. So independent filmmakers may have some others. If they're thinking about a project that's going to attract investors, they may as well move that. And if you want to get a return to qualify for these incentives, you may as well move your budget back up from a low budget up to $1 million.
It's going to be a balancing act. If you want the incentive, yes, but if you weren't going to spend over $1 million anyways, you might as well stick under.
Okay. You know, if people want to know more about federal tax incentives, please tune into episode 1, where Corky Kessler, who wrote the federal tax incentive, which from my experience is that investors want to have this and experience, you know, these write-offs. It's part of what draws them to a project, knowing that, you know, the New York Times wrote back in January, I think when we were out in Sundance, they released an article that film productions are actually considered a conservative investment.
Really?
Yes. And so you take the state tax incentive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, here's an idea. You shoot your production in one of the other states that have a production tax rebate. You bring it back to upstate New York, you get your upstate incentive. And then you also combine it with a federal incentive. You now have 3 return on investment vehicles built into your project. Before it's finished, if they invested $1, they're going to get 70 cents back before it goes out the door, you know, before it even gets in front of an audience. That's an attractive opportunity to some investors.
So some advice I got a long time ago from a producer, one of the best investments you can make in a film is buying the tax incentive.
And there are companies that are designed to do just that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get,
it's soft money and it helps with cash flow. It's a very good deal.
You talked about the remote production office, base camp, people never going to set, quarantining crew.
Yeah, it's ironic in the visual medium where everybody connects, we can't.
How is this going to change storytelling? What is the impact on having a background crowd?
So it's limiting. We probably won't be able to bring on more than 10 extras, and they will have to be distanced, at least from principal cast as well as crew. And that's going to be around until we have some kind of vaccine or cure for this, because there's no way to limit that. You can't bring 100 people into a room at a bar and have them safely dance, sweat, and do all the things they would need to do to make the scene real. So there was a question that came up, catering.
Yeah, how about catering? Any ideas on how is catering going to be handled? Obviously, they're having issues with meat packing plants, you know, out in the West.
Yep. The food I can't speak to. Hopefully the vendors will get safe food and we'll be fine there. But as far as breaks, they're talking about doing 2 lunch breaks. So we would have smaller crews. They would sterilize the room. Everything is single serving. So there's no more open buffets. They're also talking about the possibility of sending the menu to each department. Exactly, takeout meals separately delivered. So we would have the menu from catering, and then each department in the morning would fill out what their guys wanted, and that would be delivered at lunchtime.
So it's kind of like what the grocery stores are doing now. I went in to buy bagels, and you can't pick your bagels anymore. They're already pre-wrapped for you, 6 or a dozen, that's your choice if you want them.
Exactly.
So
limit choice, increase safety.
And that's really important to you. Is what is this a good time for? Is it a good time to raise money for a movie, or is it what's the best use of filmmakers' time right now?
You're not gonna like my answer.
Yeah.
It's not a good time to raise money for film.
Not if you're going to shoot right now. Not if you're looking
exactly.
to shoot.
Exactly. If you're looking to prep, if you have a plan, if you're going to start shooting in January, it's not a bad idea. But I think the focus right now, and I've heard this from a lot of people on a lot of phone calls, is safety, health, personal, and figuring out what next steps we need to take before we actually roll those cameras. Everybody is focused on that. And what I've heard is that anybody focusing on the work, in the opinion of the crew, has their priorities mixed up, which means the crew now questions their motivations and whether they want to work for them in the future.
So this is really a values proposition. Is it our human life, or is it the content that you're about to create?
Exactly. In my opinion, it's humans first.
Because you can't create something if you don't have people, right?
Exactly.
What other ways do you believe Crew Me Up is addressing some issues with the industry? Some have said that this industry really hasn't changed that much in the last 80 years, going back to 1920.
That might have been me.
Yes, it was.
The processes haven't changed. The way I see it is the film industry is a walled garden, meaning everything in there grows normally, is an old process, and hasn't really been touched by the outside world. And they really want to keep it that way so that they can control the process. Who they is very questionable, and we don't need to figure that one out today. But I really think that we need to open up the doors and share all the information and update things. For instance, time cards are mostly paper right now, and not just that, they're carbon copies. So you've got your white, you've got your pink, and you've got your yellow. And all three of those copies go to the office, and somebody then types them into a computer and puts them in a box where they sit for 6 months to 2 years until the statute of limitations is up. But they're never looked at after they're typed into the computer. So why do it in the first place?
So you're talking about eliminating some wasteful steps. So when we're in a digital world, digital age.
Exactly. And especially with COVID and the direction that we're going, it's going to be contactless. So the more processes within the industry that we can digitize and remove contact from, the safer we're all going to be.
So you mentioned contact less contact. What other areas do you think the direction the industry needs to go in order to get through COVID and come out on the other side? Okay.
Patience, communication. Yes, cutting down on contact through sides, through call sheets. All those things can be digital. And if we do it that way, I think it's definitely going to save us the risk of any transmission that could happen. Let's see.
You talked about how is distribution and release windows going to be impacted? Are they going to be impacted by this? We're obviously off.
Absolutely. We actually don't know yet because we're now at a content stoppage. So there's nothing new that could be released by the theaters. Everybody's talking about, well, the theaters are opening. What are they going to show? Bloodshot, Trolls, The Hunt, they all released on digital without going theatrical. We have no idea what the future is going to hold. I can tell you there was an article that came out where AMC has said they will no longer carry Universal movies if they continue to release on streaming platforms before they release theatrically. So
tell us why did they take such a strong stand? What precipitated that position?
So Universal released the movie Trolls World Tour, and they released it on Amazon for a $20 sale. Made about 330 million at the box office, and so Universal did not get, not Universal, AMC didn't see a chunk of that, and they make their box office plus their concessions. They're making nothing right now. So when everything comes back, there's this new model that's out there that the studio technically could continue to follow. And if they do that, AMC's drawing that line in the sand.
So that's a pretty clear line that the industry wants to be in existence after we get through this. And really what they're saying is, hey, collaborate with us, work with us in some way. What could Universal have done?
I honestly don't think they could. I personally think they made the right move. You have to think about your audience, and you talk to your business partners and you communicate. I think the best thing that they could have done is call the theater chains and say, hey guys, here's what we're doing for the survival of our business, not to F you or have a bad relationship or whatever it is for the future. This is just our survival as well as supporting our audience. People need content. The kids want to see Trolls.
So here's one model that the independents, I believe, worked out through the Angelica Theater, and that is the Angelica is closed. The movie was ordered or delivered to the home to watch it through the Angelica, and so the movie house still got a piece of the box office, and it still wound up at the home studio of the viewer. So that was I thought that was an interesting collaboration. Have you heard about that or any others?
No, that one's new to me, but I love that. How can we take care of everybody?
I heard that Woodstock does one of these each week. Woodstock Film Festival. I'll plug them 7:00 Thursday night, and so they had I think this is what it takes is the independents immediately get together and we're trying to figure this out together, and they come up with a model. Just as they came up with Netflix, designed by two independent filmmakers who needed to solve something. I think filmmakers and artists are some of the most innovative people, innovative thinkers, innovative problem solvers. No is not in our vocabulary.
It's summertime. I think we should go back to the drive-ins.
Oh, tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's the one place where you can go to see a movie and be completely controlled and contained. If you're in your car, nobody has access, nobody can get you sick, you can filter your air and do all the things, and you still get the benefit of watching the movie, getting out of the house. You can open the windows, it's fine. But I really think that would be a great way for us to get back before we actually go into a closed box in the dark room.
That sounds wonderful. I mean, I just can picture being out there at night and hearing the crickets, and what a great experience that'll be.
I used to go to Starlight 6 in Atlanta with my family, and they would back the car up on the bump, and we'd all lay back in the back of the Chevy Blazer and watch whatever double feature was on.
Fun memories. So yeah, just along those lines, that brings me back. I'm in the back of a station wagon when I'm 6 years old watching Billy Jack, the rated R movie. I should have never been in that movie, but someone in my family wanted to go see it. So there I am watching Billy Jack. And, but that's how families went to the movies back then. We just pile in the car.
Exactly.
So we got to go back to our roots to find some solutions.
Well, I mean, to bring that back to Crew Me Up, the very first thing that we did when we formed the company, why are we doing this? To help people find work. And as we continue to grow, both as founders, as business people, we learned that that's not enough. So we started to add services. We started to look at efficiency models. We really started to dive deep into how we can build this up. And then COVID hit. And now we're trying to help people find work.
Yeah, what an amazing resource. And it comes out of the necessity.
Yeah, but right back to where we started. All that complicated stuff that we did is on hold. It's just, let's get people back to work.
What else can, and filmmakers and participants here, or anybody on Facebook, make sure you send us those questions if they're out there. Thank you for everybody on Facebook that's listening. And I just want to acknowledge everybody here. Josh, just to let you know some of the names here. Andy Maycock, a top 25 screenwriter by International Screenwriter Association. Douglas Friedman, Joe Black, Megan Colbert. Joe Black came backstage with us before this started. That was fun to see you, Joe. Megan Colbert, Micah Kahn, Paul K. Smith. I believe Paul is from across the pond over in London. Tom Mercer, Tamaro Charles, and V round out our attendees here. So if you guys have any final questions.
I see we got one from
Yep.
Megan Colbert. Is Crew Me Up helpful for people with little to no film experience? The answer is yes. One, you can start a conversation. Two, you can find resources. If you have little to no experience, and this is a shameless plug, check out my book, Getting It Done, The Ultimate Production Assistant Guide. It goes over call sheets, it goes over production reports, it goes over walkie-talkie lingo, set protocol, who to go to for what position, and it describes all the different departments. It'll be a great foundation to get you on the set with at least the basic knowledge of what you'll be doing. After that, I would look at a book called Running the Show by Liz Gill, which talks about how to run a set and the organizational process. And this is all coming from my experience, which is as an AD and into a producer. And then the next question, does the app require or allow a reel or resume to be attached? We do not require, but yes, we do allow all of the above.
So the app, you can upload that to your profile?
Correct. Yeah. So when you fill out your profile, you can type in your website link or you can type in your IMDb link. We have both options. And then for the resume, I might be wrong about this. I think right now it's got to be a JPEG, but they're working on the ability to upload a PDF.
Oh, that's great. It's all in one. You've put a lot of thought into it. And I just want to say thank you to Megan for asking that question, because
yeah, great questions.
This is a great place to start with a resource right in the palm of your hand, right? Just how cool
I needed it, so I didn't just build it for you guys. I built it for me.
That, I met an artist, my first documentary. He said when he paints a painting, he paints it for himself first. Mm-hmm. And then if other people enjoy it, great.
Yeah. I want to help people find work, but I got to hire people to help them find work.
What types of jobs are open to editors?
I'm not actually sure how to answer that. I can go down the list. We've got editor, we've got assistant editor. We have post PA, I think we have post-production supervisor, colorist, sound mixer. So there's a smattering of post-production positions across the board. If there's anything that you see in there that we're missing, send me an email, let us know, and we'll add it as soon as possible.
So this app is you can update it and revise it and
completely. This is a living piece of technology, and we are constantly talking to people, asking for feedback. Can employees rate their experience? Right now, employers cannot rate their experience, but we are building that in. So one of the updates we'll bring out is a 5-star rating system based on certain areas. Were they professional? Were they knowledgeable? Sorry, just gotta swipe up. Did they listen to orders? Did they follow along? Did they show up on time?
Did they show up on time is a big one.
Based on those 5 answers, it's gonna be a 5-star rating, and that'll average out after 10 jobs. So that's your performance rating. On top of that, we'll have a reliability rating, which is actually a percentage. And that is based on, did you show up or did you not? If you show up the first time, you're 1 for 1, it's 100%. If you don't show up the second time, you're 1 for 2. Now you're 50% reliable.
And that doesn't fly. That doesn't fly very long in this industry.
No, and again, we're not gonna start those ratings until 7 to 10 hires, just because it's not fair for somebody to work 2 jobs and have a 50% rating. So we'll give you a fair smattering before we start averaging.
Josh, thanks so much for being on with us, and thanks everyone for their questions. Yes, Tom Mercer chimes in saying thanks for valuable insights. I think this
My
is
pleasure.
tremendous.
Thanks, Tom.
Josh, I think we'd love to have you back on because you were informing me about what to anticipate. I'm thinking ahead now for when things do open up later this fall, or when I can land those investors for January. We could take advantage of these wonderful tax incentives in upstate New York.
Yes.
One last question, because I asked this to our panelists last week on why invest in the arts. It's been a long few days. Are artists essential to our culture, our economy,
Absolutely.
our well-being? What's your response?
I mean, it's very simple. Absolutely. Let's say Pepsi needs a new logo. Who's going to make it? You need an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So regardless of what business sector, what industry you're in, whether we're talking about movies and entertainment or some aspect of a different business, there's always a need for artists, and the investment is always worth it. If the kids can do it when they're young, the talent that we're going to cultivate when they grow up is just going to be so immense. It'll bring back a new renaissance.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that word, renaissance. I posed this question to our panelists again on Thursday. What's needed? What are 2 or 3 things that are needed to come out of this with a renaissance? What needs to be in place?
Can you rephrase that? Or
Sure. You mentioned the word renaissance.
Uh-huh.
What do we need in place?
In order to make that happen?
Yeah, in order to make that happen, what do artists need to be doing? What does our industry need to be doing? What do we need to perhaps raise awareness about?
So I would say the industry needs to be providing programs and education. Some people might shoot me for saying this, but I'm a Directors Guild member. And one of the biggest issues that I have with the Directors Guild is that most of the members that are currently joining don't know how to do their job. They're PAs that stood on a corner for 600 days, and they know how to lock up, but they don't understand how to prep. They don't know how to make a call sheet. And these are union members with real responsibilities. So I think the first thing that we as an industry can do is educate the next generation. I can actually, there's a project called Bridge Builder, which is run by Hollis Meminger. Hollis and I met on Gossip Girl 10 years ago. He was a camera guy. He's now a DP, and he's still working, but he teaches kids ages, I think 5 up to 15. And he teaches them film, he teaches them how to use the cameras and all the things, and gives them a sense of community so they have a skill to move forward with. I think that's the first thing that we'll need to focus on.
Well said. And Paul K. Smith from, I believe it's over in London, says, imagine a world without music, without the arts. And
It'd suck.
Yeah, it would suck. And that's not where we want to be going. So thank you for sharing your expertise and talent with us. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Mike Camoin for Check the Gate. I want to thank our sponsors again, Price Chopper, Market 32, Albany Wine and Dine for the arts, and Crew Me Up. Connect, create, collaborate, crewmeup.com. If your business would like to sponsor future episodes, maybe you can't do it now, yet a year from now, donate to cinemaexchange.org/donate. In the meantime, enjoy Josh wine. I'm going to have to get some more. Be well. There it is. So I want to know how I can get my name on a bottle where it says Mike, instead of Josh. Josh is nice. It's a great.
Develop an app.
There we go. There we go. Be well. Stay healthy. Stay connected. Folks, our gate is good. Moving on, people. Cheers.